Hey everyone, we are the group assigned to discuss all about the multiple choice type of test. So here is the sequence of our report for today. First, we will be talking about the definition of a multiple choice test. Second is to discuss its advantages and disadvantages. And the third is to discuss its guidelines for constructing one. And lastly, give a sample test with critique if it is acceptable or not. Multiple choice type of test is a test who offers the students with more than two options per item to choose from. So there is only a minimum of two options. So there are two parts of the test, the STEM and the options. The STEM is the question of the multiple choice type of test, and the options are the answers or the possible answer and the distractors. So in the set of options, there is a correct or best option and all other else are considered distractors. So the correct answer and the distractors. From the word itself, distractor, their purpose is to distract students from the correct answer. So by this, it will test the learning of the students if they really understood the lesson, the topic. So some other students would guess the answer. Some I will choose this option because it's the longest among the options, or I will choose this option because the wordings are kinda unfamiliar, so it might be the answer. Multiple choice type of test allows to test the higher order thinking skills of the students. How? By making strong and attractive distractors, because by doing this it will confuse the students and will lead them to think critically if it is really the right answer. Thus, we are hitting the higher order thinking skills of the students. Is an example of a multiple choice type of test. Question part is the STEM and the possible answers are the alternatives. So there is only one answer and other else are the distractor. Let us talk about the advantages of multiple choice test. First one is quick and easy to score by hand or electronically. So meaning, along with other objective type of test, multiple choice type of test can be easily checked by the teacher because there is already one concrete answer, is standard and responds to a certain amount of point, which will be easier for the teacher to record scores because there is already a correct answer and it also corresponds to a point. Advantage is it can cover lots of content areas on a single exam and still be answered in a class period. Can cover a wide range or scope of topics, and it can be easily answered by the students because they just need to pick the correct answer. And like other type of tests where its scope is very limited, such as the essay type of exam, incorrect response patterns can be analyzed. So meaning the teacher can easily locate which number got the most incorrect answer or wrong answers. By this, she or he can easily generate an idea that maybe the students got a wrong answer, maybe because they got confused, or maybe because they didn't understand the question, or maybe because the students didn't really learn that certain topic. So by doing this, teachers can give feedback to the students. Multiple choice test allows the teacher to modify the difficulty, the level of difficulty of the exam. How? By adjusting the question or the distractors. By making the distractors strong and attractive to learners, they will be having a difficult time to pick the correct answer, thus allowing us to determine if students really understood the topic. Go to the disadvantages of the multiple choice test. First one, limited feedback to correct errors in student understanding. The thing about multiple choice tests is the feedback is really limited, especially to those teachers who just gives the correct answer to the students and that's it. No further feedback or no further explanation why they got wrong or what happened to that certain question if your students really didn't know the answer in the first place. So we fail to hit our first goal in teaching, which is to teach the students and clarify their misconceptions and address their concerns. So after giving the correct answer to the students, we need to give further comments or discussions and action plans. Results may be biased by reading ability or test wiseness. Some students who really has poor reading comprehension or poor vocabulary that results to the misinterpretation of the question will affect their answers. And there are others who are just wise in answering tests, some who are just really lucky in guessing the correct answer. That's why our job as teacher is to create strong distractors for.
Now let's go to the guidelines for constructing multiple choice items. First is, do not use unfamiliar words, terms, and phrases. Example, what would be the system reliability of a computer system whose slave and peripherals are connected in parallel circuits, and each one has a known time to failure probability of 0.05. So, as you can see, the words slave and peripherals are unfamiliar terms or words for the students. So, students may not answer it correctly because it is unfamiliar to them, even though they knew the subject matter of reliability. Now let's see the second guidelines for constructing multiple choice items. Do not use modifiers that are vague and whose meanings can differ from one person to the next, such as much, often, usually, and etc. So here is an example. Much of the process of photosynthesis takes place in the E bark B leaf system. So as you can see, he used the word much. So this word is a big word that students that cannot understand because it has a different meaning. So we must use more specific words better than that, like percentage. So now here is the third guidelines for constructing multiple items. Avoid complex or awkward word arrangements. Also, avoid use of negative in the stem as they may add unnecessary comprehension difficulties. Example, as President of the Republic of the Philippines, Corazon Aquino would stand next to which President of the Philippine Republic subsequent to the 1986 EDSA Revolution. As this example, it is very long, and also there are some words that the reading comprehension of the students will make it difficult. So here is a better example for this example number 1. Who was the president of the Philippines after Corazon C. Aquino? As you can see, it is short and more direct than the example number 1. Now let's go to the fourth guidelines for constructing multiple items. Do not use negatives or double negatives, as such statements tend to be confusing. It is best to use simpler sentences rather than sentences that would require grammatical construction. Here is an poor example. Which of the following will not cause inflation in the Philippine economy? This example can make the students to think what what are the causes that may be to inflate the Philippine economy. So here is a better example. Which of the following will cause inflation better in Philippine economy? So it is easy to the students to identify what caused that being inflated in the Philippine economy. Here is another poor example. What does the statement development patterns acquired during the formative years are not unachievable imply? So you can see this poor example used not an unachievable. So as you can see, he used double negatives. Then here is the better example. What does the statement say? Development patterns acquired during the formative years are changeable imply. So as you can see, this better example, it is direct and he do not use double negatives such that and or not. Let's go to the fifth guidelines for constructing multiple choice items. Each item should be short as possible. Otherwise, you are risking testing for reading and comprehension skills of the students. So, it is better to use short or direct questions such that, example, who was the president of the Philippines after Corazon C. Aquino? It is a better example than this. For example, as a president of the Republic of the Philippines, Corazon C. Aquino would stand next to the president of the Philippine Republic subsequent to the 1986 EDSA revolution. As you can see, it is very long, so students cannot understand it well if they have a slow reading comprehension. So students make it like pintot-pintoto na lang or patakan nilag answer because it is very long to read. So now let's go to the sixth guidelines for constructing multiple choice items. The structures should be equally plausible and attractive. Here is an example. The short story, My D's Abe, was written by which Filipino author? A. Jose Garcia Villa, B. Nick Joaquin, C. Genoveva Edrosa Matoti, D. Robert Frost, E. Edgar Allan Poe. So, if this is attractive, so as you can see, all the examples are the Filipino authors. So the value of the item would be greatly increased. So the students may choose 3 instances of this. Only the first 3 carry the burden of the entire item since the last 2 essentially discarded by the students. So ilan na lang kung asaan ka ng dili nila ang familiar o unfamiliar. Like sa ABC is familiar nila nga ka ng Filipino author. So ang katungduhan na lang nga D ug A kay ilan nang itong baliwalaon. So mas dako nilang chance to know what is the right answer.
Guidelines number 7. All multiple choice options should be grammatically consistent with the stem. Example, as compared to the autos of the 1960s, autos in the 1980s is blank. A. Traveling slower. B. Bigger interiors. C. To use less fuel. D. Contain more safety measures. So, ABC pa lang, makita naman nato nga wrong grammar na gyud siya. So, ang answer nga possible kay D. Kay nag-compare man siya. So, ang autos kuno sa 1980s contain more safety measures than 1960s. So, ang answer ani kay D. So, dapat ang mga choices pod niya dapat sakto pod og mga grammar. The length, explicitness, or degree of technicality of alternative should not be the determinant of the correctness of the answer. Example, if the 3 angles of 2 triangles are congruent, then the triangles are blank. A. Congruent whenever one of the sides of the triangles are congruent. B. Similar. C. Equiangular and therefore must be also congruent. D. Equilateral if they are equiangular. So makita naman nato, so pareha man ang duha ka triangle, so similar gid sila. Ang ACD sobra kay siya sa taas bisag wrong na gyud answer, ila pag di-prove nga ngano sila pilion sa student bisag wrong na. So klaro na kay nga B ang answer. Avoid stems that reveal the answer to another item. So ayaw pagbuhat og question nga makita ang answer ng question sa lain nga question. Example, who will most strongly disagree with the progressivist who claims that the child should be taught only that which interests him, and if he is not interested, wait till the child gets interested. So mo na una nga question. Ang ikaduha nga question kay which group will most strongly focus is teaching on the interest of the child. So ang kaning answer ani progressivist, makita naman siya ganina sa una nga question. So, na-reveal na ang answer ani nga question. Guidelines number 10. Avoid alternatives that are synonyms with others or those that include or overlap others. Example, what causes ice to transform from solid state to liquid state? A. Change in temperature. B. Changes in pressure. C. Change in the chemical composition. D. Change in heat levels. So, makita man ito nga duha ang answer niya sa ang A ug ang D. So, maglibog na nag-answer dapat ang multiple choice o sarag niya siya answer. So, if magbuhat tag choices, dapat dili ra usbon ang mga meaning ni ang synonyms niya, dapat usara gid. Avoid presenting sequence items in the same order as in the text. So, dili ka dapat magbuhat og mga question nga sunod sa pagka-discuss nimo, dapat imo siya i-mix or i-rumble. Avoid use of assumed qualifiers that many examiners may not be aware of. So, dili ka magamit og mga assume nga qualifiers kay samot og kalibog ang mga student ana.
Guidelines for constructing multiple choice items. Number 13. Avoid use of unnecessary words or phrases which are not relevant to the problem at hand unless such discriminating ability is the primary intent of the evaluation. The item's value is particularly damaged if the unnecessary materials is designed to distract or mislead. Such items test the student's reading comprehensions rather than knowledge of the subject matter. Example, the side opposite the 30-degree angle in a right triangle is equal to half the length of the hypotenuse. If the sine of a 30-degree is 0.5 and its hypotenuse is 5, what is the length of the side opposite the 30-degree angle? A. Change in temperature. B. Change in pressure. Change in the chemical composition. Change in heat levels. So, the sine of a 30-degree angle is really quite unnecessary since the first sentence already gives the method for finding the length of the side opposite. The 30-degree angle, this is a case of teacher who wants to make sure that no student in his class gets the wrong answer. Number 14. Avoid use of non-relevant sources of difficulty such as requiring a complex calculation when only knowledge of a principle is being tested. In the previous example, knowledge of the sine of the 30-degree angle would have led some students to use the sine formula for calculation. Even a simpler approach would have sufficed. 15. Pack the question in the stem. Here is an example of a question which has no question. Avoid it by all means. Example, the Roman Empire is blank. A. Had no central government. B. Had no definitive territory. C. Had no hero. D. Had no common religion. So, mauna siya ang example sa number 15. Number 16. Use the none of the above option only when the keyed answer is totally correct. When the choice of the best response is intended. None of the above is not appropriate since the implication has already been made that the correct response may be partially inaccurate. For example, evolutionary software process models. A. Are iterative in nature. B. Can easily accommodate product requirements changes. C. Do not generally product throwaway systems. D. None of the above. So the answer is A. Are iterative in nature. Number 17. Note that use of all of the above may allow credit for partial knowledge in a multiple option item, allowing only option choice. If a student only knew that two options were correct, he could then deduce the correctness of all of the above. This assumes you are allowed only one correct choice. For example, which of the following is not a situation in which respondents are likely to refuse to answer a survey question? A survey question. A. They may feel there is simply too much effort involved. B. They may feel that the question is not needed. C. They may feel that the information is too sensitive. D. The question is a screening question. A. All of the selection represent a circumstance where respondents are likely to refuse to answer a survey question. The answer is letter A. All of the selection represent a circumstances where respondents are likely to refuse to answer a survey question. Number 18. Better still use none of the above and all of the above sparingly, but best not to use them at all. Use the alternatives none of the above and all of the above sparingly. When used, such alternatives should occasionally be used as the correct response. And then lastly is number 19. Having a compound response choices may purposefully increase difficulty of an item. So the difficulty in a multiple choice item may be controlled by varying the homogeneity or degree or similarity of responses. The more homogeneous, the more difficult the item because they all look like the correct answers. Example: Thailand is located in Southeast Asia. B. Eastern Europe. C. South America. D. East Africa. A. Central America. Thailand is located next to Laos and Cambodia. B. India and China. C. China and Malaysia. A. India and Malaysia. And that's all. Thank you.